Evening, everybody. How we doing? How we doing? So, what the heck happened today? For starters, I did not trade, so I didn't take any trades. I was too freaking tired, did not wake up for market open, and I decided to just rest today. I started off this new eval with a win on Monday, I believe. Yeah, yesterday. A win yesterday, and then today, no trades. But I am going to be going over today's price action, see what happened, see if my pre market analysis was right. Because I did have a bullish bias coming into today. I wrote down that the previous day's range stat was bullish. I actually added true day because I went to bed a little past midnight or like around midnight. So I was actually able to plot out true day open before I went to bed. And then it's noted that price is very close to all-time highs in the overnight. So I was able to see Asia high, which I also plotted out at that time. We were actually like 20 something points away from all-time highs, which is nothing in my opinion. So yeah, might just be a clear bullish bias due to all-time high context. And just looking at like a higher time frame volume profile, if you zoom out over here, right, you want to include the entirety of, where is it at, over here, cool. If you want to include like this whole week, right, you got a low volume node here. If you want to include maybe like all-time highs, right, there's a low volume node here, right, so this is a clear low volume node. If you look at the 1 hour, right, those are 1 hour for valley gaps, so there's one right here and there's one up here. And if you actually look at like this week's price action, so like starting here, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, or actually you could include maybe like this price action, but we noted kind of a low volume node up here before market open, if I'm not mistaken. So if we don't include this whole thing, maybe all the way to Asia high, yeah, there's a low volume node here. So that's kind of what I was looking at. Two low volume node areas that you could deal with. Those are my main like support zones. I also wanted to keep, previous week's value area high, marked out pre-stage low, previous week's point of control, previous week's value area low. Kept those on my chart, kept this on my chart as well, which is kind of far, but it's all good. But yeah, plotted this out, plotted this out. So I plotted those support areas, the low volume node right here, and then the low volume node right here. I wanted to keep um, previous week's high on my chart because at times you could see this be a high time frame break and retest. So we broke previous week's high and then retested and hit higher. That's a possibility. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna keep it just in case. It's not cluttering my chart by me doing that. Because yeah. So, going into pre-market, right? We're noticing that we're kind of stalling out in this zone. So, from kind of like the regular thought process in this type of scenario, it's either okay. Open is either gonna displace, then we hope like wait for a retrace, and then target Asia highs and all-time highs, or we manipulate lower, maybe take London lows, and then look for a reversal off of that. And if you traded today, you know what happened. You know the second scenario is what you would have looked for. And I just want to cover a few things because I did talk to a few people that traded today, and they were like, "Oh, like bro, today wasn't the best." Well, actually, there was this one guy actually. I was like, "Bro, the IB isn't the best anymore." Blah blah. I'm like, dude, like, just focus on order flow and VWAPs. If you did that today, you would have been just fine. And uh, I'll go over what that means here in a minute. But we're gonna keep ES over here to the side. ES actually did do a break and retest of previous week's high. because I think it's actually higher on ES. Relatively, yeah, kind of. But yeah, ES actually did retest previous week's high, and it looked like it was sustaining it. So you could have used that as a confluence. Gonna try to keep it over here, kind of to the side, to kind of get an idea of how ES is moving. And then, cool. So, what do we have? We have a potential manipulation lower to then head higher. We also have true day above us before market open, so that's great. Usually, when true day open is above, the stat on it is pretty strong. Um, Not so much when it's below, but yeah. I can actually probably find the number on it if I'm. So today was a Tuesday. If we open below, it's a 63% chance that we retrace to it. So not too great. It's one of the ones that's on the lower end, but still 63% chance. Decent in my opinion. But yeah, we'll we'll see. We'll see what how today played out. Okay, so what do we get off open? Immediately dump. Also notice how ES actually tapped True Day by the tick, so something to keep in mind. But the statistic is solely based on NQ. It's since the statistic is solely based on NQ, I don't take it as if ES takes True Day. I don't take that as an SMT because the statistic is solely based on NQ. It's not based on NQ and ES. If it was, then it'd be a different story. But yeah, cool. So we manipulate lower. We barely tap this 1 hour for rally gap. Since we're doing this, you might want to wait and see what happens. So this is 211.50, right? And then this is actually 211.75. Okay, so it did barely tap it by a tick, but maybe you want to wait for a bit more, a deeper retrace into that. ES did trade deeper into that, so yeah. Maybe you remove London low, both assets have taken it, and then you wait a bit more. Cool. ES is heading lower, put in the low time from SMT there. Cool. Also, what are the VWAPs telling us, right? We're kind of grinding lower from the Asia high, um, and London just kind of accumulated. So you could expect the manipulation and then the distribution on New York. So you gotta be really patient on this type of scenarios. So yeah. We're also kind of like below the overnight VWAP, so you might want to be patient with that. And maybe you want to look for the New York VWAP. It's kind of there, but kind of hard to see since it's like barely the start of the session. Cool. So, alright, let's see what happens next. Cool. So, here. Oh, this is actually. Oops, that's my bad. I was actually looking at it in the 15 minute. That's my bad. I did not mean to do that. It's all good. But yeah, first 5 minutes of open weren't that crazy. We were actually looking at the first 15 minutes. So yeah, I wanted to go over this part really quick. Cool. I think we can wait a little bit more. 10 a.m. opens here. Cool. And happens here. Alright. So, at this point, right? At this point, what have we done so far? Right? 211.50. Okay? There's a low right here. Okay? This is technically a fair value gap. Okay? Well, it is. Not technically. It is. So, you wanted to get filled, right? To trade off of it. What could you do if you're getting a setup before it gets filled? towards the fair value gap. You could take a setup towards an unfilled fair value gap. You can definitely do that. Technically, a tick is filled by a tick, so maybe that's not enough for you. Maybe that's in your eyes. Maybe that's um, the asset you're trading, kind of like giving you a target. Hey, target this. Maybe that's something. And I want to go over this specifically because it's an example that I told the friend that was saying like, oh, IB doesn't work. The 45-minute IB low has set second. Okay, we're below both VWAPs. Okay, if you look at a volume profile for the session, okay, what is price telling us? Our value area is probably shifting lower. If we like go from here, yeah, it started shifting lower. See how it's kind of like moving lower, right? It's moving lower. Okay, so what do we have? Let's say you want to take a short towards the 1 hour FEG. Okay, let's look at a fib. Let's just look at a fib for New York session. Okay, look at a fib. Okay, cool. We got our fib. All right, this next candle gives us the entry, or I think it's the one after this one. Yeah. What did price do here? We're tapping into the 618-786 area, right? We're tapping into the overnight VWAP, which we have held since we broke it in Asia. They never touched it. We tried to get above it in pre-market and failed. Market open right at it, like right at that overnight VWAP, and dumped. Okay, so we respected that. Maybe you want to wait for a clear reaction, clear failed selling, or clear failed buying, or aggressive seller stepping in. What do we get here? A bearish candle close. Maybe you get a starter position here, right? It's not even that crazy of a position. You can do like a 19-point stop, which is nothing. Aim for the low. Simply aim for price breaking the 45-minute IB low. And this is just an IB play, VWAP play, New York fib. So you do have a few confluences in your favor, right? So what happens here? Immediate TP in like 5 minutes. And if we go down, we can be more specific. We enter once the candle closes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 minutes. 5 minutes and we get TP. Simple as that. Simple as that. And you're not being greedy, right? You're going for a 3R, which is pretty solid in my opinion. You could have gone for the fixed 3R. You would have gone TP, right? But I wanted to cover that because that's an IB play. You're going off of the rejection stat, which side's going to break first for the 45-minute IB, okay? And the reason you would play it like this is because at this time, like when we're up here at the VWAP, at this fib level, we've put in a swing low and we've gotten a retrace, right? We're retracing to that overnight VWAP, right? So it's a clean retrace to a key level that's been respected before. It's also the point of control for the session, right? So you had a bunch of confluences stacked up, right? And you're taking it before the 1 hour IB sets. Sure, you might want to wait for the 1 hour IB. Maybe that's your play. But watch what, like, this plays out right as the 1 hour IB has set. Maybe, okay, you want to target, let's say you were in the trade, right? And you just had a floating, kind of like a floating TP. You didn't have a defined TP, right? What would be your TP now? Right? Maybe like a tick below this low. Why? Because this is your 1 hour IB, and it's immediately broken. We wick it. Should you be looking for lower end extensions here? My opinion, no. Why? Few things. You want to watch. You've already gotten a retrace into a key level, which is your point of control, your overnight VWAP. We tried to get above New York VWAP, got above it, and failed immediately. Okay? So what do you want to see here? You want to see price? What did I do? Okay, I switched for some reason. Anyway, sorry about that. What do you want to see here? You want to see price break those VWAPs, right? Because we've hit a key level. We've hit that 1 hour fair value gap, the low volume node on the higher time frame. We've retested previous week's high on ES. And what do we also have above us? You can be bullish here. Sure. Because you have a support zone here. We're below the value area low. If we're going to be truly bearish, this is going to sustain the value area low and head lower. But what happens? We wick the IB low and immediately recover. Maybe you want to scalp this, right? Maybe you want to be like, you know what? I'm going to try this 1 micro, right? If it looks good or I get like a re-entry point or something. I just want to target through the open. You get an insane RR on it, right? So maybe you enter here. What happens here? Cool. Good reaction. Okay. We're respecting that 0.5 level. If you adjust it to what it actually is, we're respecting the 618. Cool. See what happens here. Maybe you trail to break even here. Maybe you trail, you have your stop here, right? You do this, 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 and this is your, ooh, this is your stop loss, okay? So, cool, we get a retest. Maybe you trail to here. Alright, you might get stopped out. I don't think you do. So what happened here? We held New York VWAP, right? We held it. So we held New York VWAP, and then we broke through it. Now we're at the 786 of the current range. Can we get above New York VWAP? Looks like we are. Okay, we're getting strongly above it. We're getting really close to the IB high. It's looking like a double break day. Okay, we didn't react at all, or we didn't get a reaction with follow through off of any of those fib levels. Okay, and we broke above both VWAPs barely. You got like what, 2 ticks off of the IB high? 303.75, 304.50, like 3 ticks quite literally. So you're like, okay, let's wait and see, right? Okay, we're testing overnight VWAP. Cool. I want to see something, that structure form. That would have been scary, right? So maybe, okay, we're sustaining the VWAP band, New York VWAP, and the overnight VWAP. Cool. Maybe you want to wait. Cool. Maybe you get in there. You get another retest. Kind of stalling out here. Can't remember what the ideal entry point was. This is heading to target anyways. Cool. So yeah. What could have happened here, right? You could have looked for an entry maybe somewhere in this wick, right? Getting somewhere around here. So my point with this is you could have played both sides because the IB said it's low second, but considering the context that we're close to all-time highs, true day is above us, the previous day's range stat is bullish, we're retesting a support zone, right? This support zone, you could see it as like it got broken through, but I see it as like we held it, manipulated below it, and then headed higher, right? And we reached another support zone down here. So like that's why like the first that first tap into that support zone, you could have also looked at how are these wicks forming? Are we seeing a lot of failed buying, failed selling here? Did like aggressive buyers step in immediately here? Is that what happened? Possibly, right? So maybe that's what you saw there. Maybe you even took this entry, right? Maybe you took this. Still a solid RR. What is this? A 5 minute inversion. You could have taken that, right? Why is this a good entry? Wick the eye below, immediately recover, invert this, get above near VWAP, right? If you didn't see it there, maybe you wait for a retrace, right? You get your entry here, get your stop below here, maybe stop at the inversion or stop at this wick right here. Either way, still a good entry. Above 2R. Like I was telling my friend, like if you looked at order flow, I'm pretty sure it would have told you, hey, we're not gonna head lower. If you saw a lot of failed selling at the lows, just trapped sellers at the lows, you're like, yeah, we're not gonna head lower. And if you saw like buyers just stepping in, maybe there was a low volume that formed somewhere around here, right? They could have used in your favor. I tried loading up Bookmap, and I couldn't get it to load this data because I looked at it later in the day. But that's pretty much what I saw for today, right? You could have taken that initial short off of overnight VWAP around 10:20. Um, Simply going for the rejection stat, the first break. Not going for extensions, just a simple. It's not even simple. It's a 3R. It's a pretty freaking solid RR. And then after that, just be bullish because we're hitting a support zone. And yeah, the context is just bullish. And I'm pretty sure today actually got like pretty close to all-time highs. But yeah, I think this kind of stalled out later. Yeah, this is what was it? I don't think there was something significant here. I mean, we hit a resistance zone that kind of held in the past, but I'm trying to think if there was like a Trump tweet or something. I don't think there was because I know earnings happened later in the day, but yeah, you could have seen this as the retrace. They're getting for longs again. Um, Maybe you want to wait for structure to form. Um, you actually get a reaction here. Maybe wait for a retest. You get it here. You get in somewhere around here. That's a decent entry. And then this is earnings. So I think it's Netflix that reported earnings today. And they came out like revenue per share was like $1 short or something like that. So not good for Netflix. And yeah, that's kind of what happened yesterday. Um, Pretty summed up, and we're gonna go ahead and shift our overnight VWAP to 6 right here. Um, Probably still bullish for tomorrow. Not gonna lie, still bullish. This becomes previous day's high right here. So now could expect previous day's high to get taken tomorrow. Yeah, gonna be bullish for tomorrow, most likely. Asia High actually ended up getting taken. That could have been something for you. Cool. Alright. And then right here. Free stays high. Cool. So that's what we're going to be looking at for tomorrow. Pre-day high and all-time highs as main targets. If we end up taking those, probably not going to be looking for a short because you don't want to try to catch stop when making the all-time highs. It's pretty hard to pull that off unless we get like clear displacement with a low volume and then continuation lower. That's another story, but still pretty rough. Don't want to pull that off because not the best idea trying to call the top when it's about all time highs. But anyways, yeah, that pretty much sums up the trade recap for the day. Kind of went longer for no reason, but could have played shorts initially, but my context, in my opinion, was pretty bullish. Didn't hold the value area low of the session, tapped into support zone, and then kind of wicked and immediately recovered off of the IB low. And we barely wick it. Like the 1 hour IB, we barely wick it and like strongly recover. And you kind of saw how we got above RV WAPs, inverted that 5 minute gap. So, excuse me. Yeah, pretty interesting day. Could have taken the good trades. I wasn't there. It's all good. And yeah, actually gonna keep this here since it's a pretty interesting level. But yeah, gonna finish up my charting. Still gonna be bullish. Just wait for your key levels to hit, and hopefully I'll catch y'all tomorrow with a banger ass trade. Peace.